What's up guys, my name is Namindu Wathsala. Today I'm here to talk about how to use web listeners. So, what is a web listener? The term event refers to the occurrence of something. An event occurs when the state of an object changes. When this expose occurs, we can conduct certain crucial action, such as collecting total and the current logged users, establishing database tables when deploying the project, building database connection object, and so on. The javax.servlet and the javax.servlet.http packages contain numerous event classes and listeners interfaces. The permanently function of a listener in a GUI application is to concentrate an event from a specific GUI component, handle it using listener functions, and provide the response to the GUI application. The following technique is referred to as event handling or event delegated model in GUI application. So, a class can be registered as a listener of a web application using the web listener annotation. One or more of the interfaces listed below must be implemented by the annotation classes: javax servlet.servlet context listener, javax servlet.servlet context attribute listener, javax servlet.servlet request listener, javax servlet.servlet request attribute listener, javax servlet.http session listener, javax servlet.http session attribute listener. So, let's talk about first what is a servlet context listener. The servlet context listener is notified when the servlet context changes and takes action. When the context is created and deleted, servlet context listener is utilized to carry out the correction task. Now let's talk about context attribute listener. The servlet context attribute change notification event are received via this interface. The servlet context must be aware on the servlet context attribute listener in order for it to be receive these notifications. This can be done programmatically by adding a listener with add listener to the servlet context, by adding the listener to the servlet scripture by using the web listener annotation, an interface for gathering notification of requests entering and exposing web application scope. Servlet request attribute listener. Let's talk about this. This interface is used to get notification when an attribute on a servlet request changes. As long as the request falls under the preview of the web application where the listener is registered, notification will be generated. The life cycle of a servlet request is extremely brief. Only when it enters the first servlet or filter does it have life. Once it reaches the last servlet or filter, it is killed. The web listener annotation adding the listeners to the servlet description or manually adding the listener with add listener to the servlet context are all ways to register the servlet request attribute listener. So, now let's talk about javax.servlet.http session listener. HTTP session lifecycle change notification interface for receiving event. The implement class must either be declared in the deployment descriptor of the web application annotation with web listener or registered using one of the add listener method defined on the servlet context in order to receive this notification event. So let's talk about javax.servlet.http session attribute listener. Receiving notification event concerning HTTP session attribute changes using the interface. The add web listener annotation, adding the listener to the web servlet descriptor, or manually adding the listener with call can all be used. Registered the HTTP session attribute listener, the servlet context with at listener. So let's talk about what are these listeners is, how to code them. First talk about context attribute listener. This is context attribute listener. So you can see this do is when the context attribute replaced, removed or added. So let's talk about my context listener. So this only called when the context destroy or initialized. So let's talk about session attribute listener, HTTP session attribute listener. This only called a session added or removed or replaced. After that, HTTP session listener means it's only called when session created or when session destroyed. So servlet request listeners mean it's only called a request initialized or request deleted. So let's talk about servlet request attribute listener. This only called when the request added, removed and replaced. So you can see these web listeners are called for this type of things. So thank you for watching.